Thanks for listening to the BlockNation podcast. My name is Drew Griffin. In this episode, I cover what led to the BitcoinSV delisting, how Microsoft and Ethereum are building new age solutions for businesses, and I cover some token economics of ICOs and IEOs and how they could improve upon those to give more money back to the investors and create a token that's actually worth investing in. A lot of the coins I talk about in this show, I have a stake in, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. Make sure that you understand this is not investment advice. This is my own personal opinion. Any investment decision you make is your own decision, and always seek professional services before you invest in any crypto. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you get constant updates of my new shows. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy. Go on rants, but there's one thing I do want to talk about, and that is the BitcoinSV delisting. And at the end of the day, what that boils down to, the root of all these problems, is people just don't like being lied to. And so all this delisting and stuff going on, this was only a matter of time if this is going to happen. But kind of the suing Hodlnaut and Peter McCormick was really the straw that broke the camel's back. And what I really do like is how the crypto community kind of rallied together and finally shoot out this nonsense of lies and deceit and deception that's been around since Bitcoin Cash was invented. And I really like the market usually deciding, okay, what do they like, what do they not like, what's good, what's bad. But I wasn't disappointed in the decision for these exchange CEOs to delist BitcoinSV because it's just so much, lying and deceit out there. They really had no other choice. Now, if you're a crypto veteran and you've been in the crypto market for a little while, you have enough knowledge and information to know that BitcoinSV was a load of donkey doo-doo and that Craig Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto. The problem is people new to crypto don't know that. So when they enter this market and they see this guy being the originator of Bitcoin, and then he's coming out saying that, okay, he has something better that you need to invest in, that's going to affect their decision. Or people who don't have access to all the information that we know about Craig Wright, the Bitcoin Cash SV, is they can get duped. So I'm actually glad the way this thing turned out, because people just hate getting lied to, and it's just been going on for years. And finally forcing people, an attempt to force people to believe something that's not real out of fear. And that's what Craig Wright was trying to do. He was trying to make people fear into believing that he is Satoshi Nakamoto through lawsuits. It had to come to an end. Okay. And hopefully BitcoinSV is done. Hopefully people get out of it, realize that this nonsense has gone on for too long. And it's just ridiculous. And I feel bad for the people that join Bitcoin nowadays, because they go to bitcoin.com and the first thing they see is deceit. Okay, they're told that some guy came in, reinvented Bitcoin, and it's something better called Bitcoin Cash. And all it is a fork of it that speeds up the transactions. That's all it is. And people don't understand the difference because they don't have enough information. So they go to buy Bitcoin. They go to bitcoin.com, find out it's called Bitcoin Core, and the real Bitcoin is called Bitcoin Cash. Okay, so it's ridiculously confusing for new people entering the market, and it's time for it to get shut down. Okay, and so the BitcoinSV thing being delisted, that needed to be done because it is having major effects on the price of Bitcoin and does leave ripples throughout the market. So like I said, I like the markets to the side, but I'm not upset with this decision. The only reason I could ever foresee being upset about this if there was a decentralized exchange that somehow, delisted it, because then it gets to the point, okay, how's a decentralized exchange delisting something? So not upset with it. If you are a BitcoinSV believer and you really think that this is something revolutionary that is better than Bitcoin, then you shouldn't fear delisting, because if it is what everyone says it is, all the people who back it says it is, then it shouldn't have any problems. But someone that's been around the crypto for a little while, I know exactly what it is. It's a bunch of garbage. Okay, so I'm not upset with the decision made on there. Bitcoin is a real Bitcoin. It never needed saving. Okay, no one stepped in and made Bitcoin better. All right, does it have some flaws? Yes. All right, but it didn't need to be improved upon through a hard fork and then to trick people into thinking that was the originator of Bitcoin's true vision, that's just getting ridiculous here. So I like the market to decide stuff, but I'm not disappointed in this decision because of all the nonsense that's been going on with BitcoinSV. All right, so I'm gonna leave it a rest there because there's more important stuff to talk about. And really what I want to get into in this episode is Microsoft and Ethereum are coming out with a platform to make it easy for businesses to adopt crypto into their business and do different ways, maybe save money, be able to improve your logistics, easier way to store data, whatever it may be. Microsoft has teamed up with Ethereum to produce a product like this. And it really reminded me of how Microsoft started and when they first put out Windows. Okay, so if you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, when personal computers, before personal computers became viable in every household, is to use a computer, you had to have some sort of programming knowledge because you had to use a command line and you literally had to punch in the keyboard and tell the computer on the command line what programs to run. Well, the average person had no idea how to do this. Okay, so Microsoft came out with a product called Windows that instead of having to punch in on the command line, you just click twice on the program you want to run, it pulls up, and then you're good to go. And so what they're doing with Ethereum is a big reminder to me of what they did early on and what made them a lot of money through their Windows software. And so they're allowing businesses, and this is a quote from one of the Microsoft developers on this, that they wanted to be able to drag and drop into their business. They want it that simple. And that's what Ethereum's been waiting for. So Ethereum's been taking the heat for probably over a year and a half now because everyone keeps crying about how, they don't have a killer Dapp. Well, this, everyone wants to use Ethereum, but there's no Dapp bringing new users on or mass adoption to Ethereum. And I'm sitting here laughing, okay, not a lot of apps really make a network take off. Okay, they may make it better, but we're sitting here fussing over an Ethereum developer to build an application when they have Microsoft, all right, on the back door building true value through something that's going to be accessible and viable in any business in the world that has access to online and use any sort of online services, even if they got to use logistics, even if they're not a online company, they can somehow incorporate Ethereum and apps from Ethereum into their business. This is the main crypto adoption footstep right here. Okay, creating something that's just easy to use. You can drag and drop it. You can click on it, and you can instantly implement it into your organization, into your business right there. That's the killer Dapp. Okay, and I hate calling it a Dapp because to me it's just another form of Microsoft software. It's just powered by Ethereum. And so all the naysayers that have been, trashed in Vitalik and all this stuff like that, what Ethereum is building, we can't even fathom the idea. And I was talking with a guy named John Gall. I brought him on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and speaking with him on the phone, he was talking about how most people who use blockchain in the next few years won't even have any idea they're using it. Okay, because programmers are going to put, the Ethereum network on the back end. So whatever application they're running through, they have no idea it's powered on a blockchain unless it just kind of tells you up front because we're building apps now. Ethereum apps are coming out where you don't have to have any knowledge of the Ethereum network. Okay, so like when you punch in a website, you may not have any knowledge of HTTPS, you don't have any knowledge of how URLs work, any of that, but you know how to type in the web browser or click a URL and go to a website and do whatever you want to do with it. That's what's coming from Ethereum. A lot of people may not even know what Ethereum is, but they're going to be using program software and applications that are powered by the Ethereum network. That's the future of blockchain. Okay, it's not necessarily having a crypto wallet and storing your coins. Okay, it's using these blockchains for a function and a utility, and this is really, in my opinion, going to make the price of Ethereum skyrocket over the next couple of years because Microsoft knows how to make money. If you look at the history of Microsoft, even through the biggest stock market slumps, they've always bounced back. Okay, they've always had, typically they have good revenue. All right, everyone's got their bad quarters, I know it, but Microsoft is really good at creating money. And when the Windows software wasn't bringing in the cash, they started competing with companies like Google. They found other ways of generating revenue through like cloud storage and web hosting and stuff like that. So them working with Ethereum, and a buddy of mine, Zach, was talking about how, most of Microsoft's software is already capable of interacting with Ethereum. So this is huge for blockchain. Okay, whether you're a fan of Ethereum or not, whether you think there's other blockchains that are similar that can process transactions faster, whatever that may be, this is huge, because if you can form and team up with a company like Microsoft that has, reinvented personal computers. Okay, if it wasn't for Windows, who knows what would have happened with computers, because at that point in time, Apple wasn't winning the personal computer game. Okay, and whenever they put those little icons onto the screen of people's monitors on their personal computers, that allowed everybody to have a personal computer. Now they didn't have to have any sort of programming knowledge, any sort of detailed developer knowledge. They could just, a couple clicks, run their program, and they're good to go. And so that's the future of Ethereum projects. Now, business is where it's going to start. And that is usually where technology starts, in business, because businesses make money. And then it's going to trickle down to personal. Okay, so you look at computers. People didn't bring computers in their home before businesses. Computers were made to help improve the function of most businesses. And then when the technology improved, that's when it trickled down to everyone using it on a personal basis. And I expect the same thing with Ethereum. Okay, it's going to be big for companies and corporations and businesses to start out. And eventually applications and programs are going to come out where they're going to be used by people throughout the world. And like I said, a lot of these people using these applications probably won't have any idea that they're even using the Ethereum network, unless Microsoft just says, hey, this app is powered by Ethereum. So this is exciting news for me. Now, I'm a holder of, Ethereum, so I love seeing stuff like this, because I think it is going to help the price increase. And like always, you got to make your own decision when it comes to investing. But Ethereum, it's so powerful. I think so many people doubt it, and I don't get why. Okay. And one big thing I want to point out about Ethereum is it's not Bitcoin. So people always say, well, it doesn't store value like Bitcoin. It wasn't used for peer-to-peer cash like Bitcoin. And that's exactly it. Okay. Bitcoin is for holding, transferring, storing money, and the ability to send money back and forth between one another without the need for a third party. Ethereum's a network. Okay. Yeah, there's times where you can use Ethereum like money. Yeah, it can hold a store of value into the future. But it's the invention of Ethereum wasn't for it to be a replacement to fiat. Ethereum was invented to be a network that allows so many applications, from smart contracts to lowering the cost of developing applications, from increasing the speed and the bandwidth of what those applications can run, giving those applications security. That's what Ethereum is. And so the argument that, okay, well, it's not Bitcoin, therefore it must be crappy that's the worst argument you can come up with. Okay. Ethereum has tremendous value in the fact that it's a network, and there's so many things that can be done on it. And now that they have this working with Microsoft, and they're building applications specifically to make it easy for businesses to bring into their organization and use, okay, that shows you the power of Ethereum, and that shows you the power of crypto. Microsoft is one of the top computer software program, all the stuff they do, companies in the world. So if blockchain and Ethereum wasn't really a big deal, why would Microsoft team up with them? Okay, they've got some of the smartest people in the world working for that organization, some of those people that know more about computers than anyone else on the planet. All right, and so they backed Ethereum. So I think you need to look into it if you don't hold Ethereum. Like I said, you've got to make your own investment decisions. But this is a technology that is really going to be revolutionary, and it's already being built upon in so many levels. And if you look at the statistics of Ethereum and how many developers are on it, this project has more developers than any crypto out there. Okay, more than Bitcoin, more than Bitcoin Cash, Tron, all that stuff. And so this is exciting news if you're an Ethereum holder. And some people argue, well, TRX is better. I don't see TRX working with Microsoft at the moment. Okay, And a lot of people hate on Vitalik for whatever reason. I don't know why. And they don't realize Vitalik wrote one of the Bitcoin program libraries that most wallets use today. And so they don't understand, how brilliant this guy was. And I understand that they kind of get mad that it kind of seems like Ethereum could be centralized because he has so much control and influence. But like I said, Ethereum isn't money. It's a network. Okay, so it needs some influence to make sure this network gets put in the right direction. And I guarantee Microsoft has a ton of influence on the Ethereum network and is making sure it nudges in the right direction so that they can scale this thing not only to a tremendous business level, but scale it to a level where it can one day be used by every single person around the world with internet connection. And it's only a matter of time before, phones start bringing in Ethereum without having to use some sort of like third-party wallet. So, it's just going to keep growing and growing. I don't understand the argument that crypto is not valuable. It is valuable, okay? I think with a lot of coins, they haven't figured out how do you reward the investor, and that's been a huge mistake with a lot of ICOs and a lot of altcoins, is that their coin isn't structured to make it worthy of a long-term investment. Okay, Bitcoin is completely different because Bitcoin is money, and it has a fixed supply that, since there's a limited supply, that's going to make the value of it increase over time as long as people hold on to it. Ethereum has value because of the tremendous amount of stuff you can do on the network. And when you use a network, it's going to require Ethereum as a little bit of currency, and that's going to help drive the price up. So Ethereum is powerful. And there's some coins out there that have a lot of similarities to it. I know TRX is kind of, I don't want to offend any people by saying this, but it's almost Ethereum Junior. And if you get offended by that, I really don't give a damn. But it's not working with Microsoft, and I would really pick Ethereum over TRX. I do hold both, just kind of give that disclosure out there. But in my eyes, Ethereum's really working on solutions to be adopted by big businesses and big and small business all around the world. To me, TRX is just really trying to hoard as many apps as they can on their platform, which isn't bad. Okay, the Apple Store made a killing off, just hosting apps. But to me, those are some of the two big main differences. And then you have some other blockchains that have some Ethereum similarities like Zilliqa. I am a fan of Zilliqa. It's just, very similar to Ethereum, just has a faster transaction speed, but it's not getting the attention Ethereum is. It doesn't have the developers Ethereum has. And so the Ethereum network is going to speed up. They are putting in those EIPs, those Ethereum improvement protocols to help improve the network. So it is going to get faster. It is going to get better. And like I said, when you team up with someone like Microsoft, that's like pouring gasoline on the fire. That's going to make this thing explode. And my true opinion on this, okay, I think Ethereum is going to be more valuable than it was at its all-time high. I think Bitcoin is going to be the same way. But Ethereum, what this network is producing and what it's capable of, most people can't even fathom at this moment. And so it's going to be exciting. And remember, don't bet against technology. Okay, if you look at every technological innovation since the 18th century, every time it comes out, people hate on it. Okay, when the automobile first came out, okay, all roads were covered in mud. They had potholes the size of humans, and they were built for horses, and everyone laughed at when they see a car drive down the road because it would barely make it down. Well, it's because the infrastructure hadn't been built for the car. You don't see a lot of people riding around horseback, okay? Maybe where I live, but, that's just kind of how it is around here. But most people have cars, obviously, today, and it's other inventions people hate on. People hate on the internet. They said the only thing it'll host is illegal activities and pornography. And every single human on the planet nearly connects to the internet at some point in time. Even developing countries that don't have computers, they have access to smartphones that now have internet capabilities. So new technology always gets dumped on when it comes out, but in the long run, don't bet against it. Okay, and make sure when you do bet, especially your money, you pick ones working with companies that have a track record of high success, and that's Microsoft. All right, you can look at the stock history of Microsoft. All right, and this besides times where the stock market just plummeted, okay, they've turned that stock into a very valuable asset and made a lot of money for their stockholders over its existence. All right, so the last thing I really want to talk about is, to me, where we're moving at the market really reminds me of a couple years ago when everything just took off. I see a lot of similarities. I see a lot of the same mistaken similarities, okay, but crypto is becoming more and more adopted. And it's like it almost seems like it comes in waves. It's like everyone kind of starts realizing, oh, crap, Bitcoin has value, or, some of these altcoins are they're doing things that's never been done before, and it's going to be the new wave of innovation. And it's like it hits the public and they get all into it, and and it just kind of brings in a whole new group of investors, a whole new group of followers, and that's starting to build up at this certain point of time. But I also see some big mistakes going on, and they're not calling them IEOs. Okay, I'm not calling them ICOs, they're calling them IEOs, so initial exchange offerings. And I warn people to be careful with these, because I'm not saying they're scams. I'm just saying you really need to do your research. And what I always look at with an investment is, how is that coin going to return value over time? And what I think a lot of the ICOs screwed up is they had a company that had an idea that could be valuable, but they implemented a coin to raise money, but they never thought about, okay, how's this coin going to increase in value? And one of the biggest mistakes I see these new crypto companies coming out with is just massive airdrops, or they give a massive amount of coins to the team. As an investor, I don't like that, because I put in my hard-earned dollars to get a coin, and then they're just giving them away for free. I put in my hard-earned money to store this token, and they're just going to airdrop it to the community. So if you are trying to run an ICO or IEO, I would shy against that, because to me, anytime you give out your token without bringing money in, that's going to decrease its value. Anytime you give out something for free, you decrease the value of it. And as an investor, that I don't like that. I don't want to see stuff just given out when I got my money in the game and people are just getting it for free. Also, I think ICOs and IEOs, they've got to get away from giving their team tremendous amounts of the market share. All right, so because when you accept an investor's money, you owe it to him to return capital for their investment. Okay, him or her. Sorry, I'm trying to be sexier, but you owe it to them, okay, to return capital on their investment. And I think a lot of ICOs screwed it up, because, okay, now they're trying to fundraise money and then utilize that token in their ecosystem, but they never think about, okay, how's it going to make it increase in value? I think what we really need to do to change this problem and really initiate startup companies and allow them to raise money easily, I think we got to change some of the investment laws in America, because I think a lot of the fundraising tokens should be separate from the utility token on the blockchain. Okay, and I got a whole another spiel I'm going to go over with how to make a token investable, because most ICO tokens aren't investable today. Okay, they have good ideas, they got a good function, it's just not going to return value for the investor. And I see it all the time with these companies. Okay, yeah, really what you're building, what you could do with that digital token makes a lot of sense, but over time, it's just not going to increase in value because it's not structured like a stock. Okay, there's a reason stocks are structured the way they are, because as an investor, you own equity in that company that's backed by that company's cash flow, and so you own equity technically in the cash that they own. Eventually, the price of the stock's going to go up. They're going to do a buyback. They're going to pay a dividend, something that's going to increase your investment. Okay. ICOs and most tokens aren't set up that way. Now, what I'm talking about is, your altcoins, your ICOs. I'm not talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum right now. Okay, those are completely different cryptos in their own asset class. All right, I'm talking about the ICOs, the IEOs. There's not a whole lot that I see coming out that over the long run is going to return money for the investor. I think a lot of them are companies trying to bootstrap their project, which to me is okay. But, trying to force feed their token into their application, into their blockchain, just to try to get the price to increase, I think that's a bad structure. And like I said, I got a whole thing I'm going to go over here in the next couple of weeks over, proper ways you can set up your ICO and set up your token to reward your investors for putting their money in an early startup. But I would do a lot of research before I invest in IEOs, ICOs. I'm not saying they're scams. I'm not saying they won't be valuable. I'm not saying there's not any innovative products coming out of them. I'm just saying I would do a lot of due diligence. And at the end of the day, you need to look at, okay, what's going to make this coin increase in value? For Bitcoin, there's a fixed supply. And the more people that have that fixed supply, all right, there's less available, drives the price up. Supply and demand. Okay, Ethereum, so many applications on the internet are going to use Ethereum, and to use a network, you got to pay a small gas fee. And as a holder of Ethereum, that's going to make the price go up. So I can see those reasons what's going to increase the price of those two coins. A lot of these ICOs, people confuse us all the time. Don't confuse functionality with value. Just because people are going to use that token, or just because this solves a problem, doesn't mean that token is going to be valuable. And what really scares me about a lot of these projects coming up is developers have the ability to just mint more. And that's really, that really hits an early investor hard, because if there was a fixed supply, then they just minted more. All right, that coin just lost its value just from that moment right there. So never been a big fan of airdrops. I think a lot of the developers that make these projects don't spend a lot of time on the financial side, or they don't bring in a guy that knows enough about token economics. They're just worried about usability and utility. They're not worried about value. My thing is, okay, if you're going to bring in investor money, I think you've got to find a way to get them paid back. And that's one thing. ICOs really screwed the pooch in 2017. They just wanted to raise money for their business. And, they kind of threw this new technology age stuff out there to the investor. And at the end of the day, the investor just thought, okay, this is an innovative product. And they kind of probably assume, hey, tokens are similar to stocks, where I own equity in the company, not realizing, no, you just have a bunch of digital tokens. Okay, that's all it really is. Crypto investing is not stock vesting. It's not bond investing. Okay, you don't own rights to credit. You don't have equity in that business. You just own a token, and you're just hoping somehow that blockchain is structured so the price of that token will drive up. Now, I think a lot of tokens that, have similarities to Ethereum, it kind of copies Ethereum's model of gas and fees and, network costs, and using it just drives up the price. Okay, that's okay. But I don't think they're going to compete with Ethereum, especially not after they've teamed up with Microsoft. Well, thanks for listening to the BlockNation podcast. My name is Drew Griffin. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can catch all our new podcasts. Make sure you check out our blog page at crusader.com/BlockNation. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Crusader. Thanks for watching.